My favorite book and why did it speak to me? Well. I would say Prometheus Rising by Robert Antoine Wilson. And since then, I would recommend. I also really love The Game of Life and How to Play It by Timothy Leary and Robert Antoine Wilson. But it's kind of like version 2 of Prometheus Rising. I just said Prometheus Rising because the second part of this is, what is your favorite book and why did it speak to you? This book spoke to me because I was searching. Like, I had done psychedelics and then I was like, what the heck happened to me? And I made it into a top 10 university, but I graduated American high school because I was able to somehow get by reading Magic Treehouse books, because you had to like show comprehension and go on the computer and do it. And I'm like, I could only read at like a third grade reading level. So I could read like multiple of these books and then just like get the points that way. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And I think it was because I was in reading classes and all this stuff. But anyways, to fast forward, and I was like, how did you make it to school if you say you can't read, Case, and all this stuff? And I'm like, well, I got that red squiggly line and I passed tests because I just go through the book, read the sentence of the bold word, and memorize that, and then I just like pass the test. It's like, I just read one sentence. And they're like, if you could read a sentence, you could read. And I was like, maybe you're right. But I think it was because I tried to read too advanced too quick, Harry Potter, and I'm a little bit dyslexic. So sometimes when I read aloud, it's not as, it's a challenge. I slip over my words and then you start stumbling until like, you're gonna mess up the next word, bro. And then it's like, now I can't read and now I want to cry and run, but I have to finish the paragraph. And all right, but anyways, that's enough childhood baggage. But what is my favorite book? Why did it speak to me? Prometheus Rising, because I had done psychedelics and I'm like, what the heck happened to me? And I was on YouTube trying to find it out and I couldn't find the answer. And somehow, some way, I got serendipitously led to this book on my search for that. And I think this is the first book I read, and it's like, well, not the first, but it was one of the first, and it was out of this quest of like, what happened to me? And then I realized I read it and I realized I love reading, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I learned so much, I got so many answers from this book. And or it just gave me satisfaction to this thirst of like understanding I was looking for, or comprehension of like, yeah, trying to figure out what the heck was that? What did I just experience? What is the potential and power of this? Because I realized I was a researcher at a young age. The first time I smoked weed, I refused to smoke weed because I saw on Mansers, well, not Mansers, I searched it because I was like, smoking's bad and blah, 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 and it's bad for your lungs. And I was like, the healthiest way to smoke weed is to vaporize it. So first time I smoked weed, I vaporized it because one, you get the most THC. Like a scientist, you get like 90 some percent THC versus like a bong, you only get 86, and then 80 something, and then like a spliff, you get like 30%. So if you want to smoke and you want to conserve the most amount of weed, get the highest, you're gonna hit a bong, and it hits you immediately. But if you want just that THC effect, you hit a volcano. But anyone who's hit a vaporizer or a big volcano, you realize that it's kind of got a delayed effect, and it's different. It doesn't make you sleepy, and there's some other things because you're just oven baking, blah, blah, nerd stuff. So because of that, and this researcher in me, and now that I'm saying that's like, how did you do all that? Well, it's like, I guess I just ask questions and then type them into Google, and then I remember being high and seeing Mansers where they explain what's the best way to get high on Spike TV. And so things just like synchronistically came to me, and then I would remember them because I'm like, I like this. And so my favorite book, Prometheus Rising, because it's about humans have it outlines what is called the 8 circuit nervous system. So, and I was curious about psychology, philosophy at the time, and this is pretty much, to me, the Bible of developmental psychology. And it answers a lot of my questions too. And even in like modern day psychology, where the pavement meets the road and where I've seen the best results is you have this world of, what is it? Internal family. I'm forgetting the last thing. You have internal family, inner child work. All of this stuff is huge, and this 8 circuit nervous system that is outlined in Prometheus Rising really talks about this, right? Our first circuit is, you think of a baby, right? It's the oral circuit, so it's all about survival at all costs, must survive. The second circuit, which is like we call the terrible twos, is our anal circuit. So this is also potty training and all that stuff. And this is all about territory. Think about cats and other animals. They mark their territory. They spray, right? So this is all about our territory, emotional. They say the biggest population of psychopaths on the planet is 2-year-olds because it's just purely domination and submission. They're learning the power games, right? Approach, back away, what can I do? And everything is mine, 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 mine. It's all my territory. Boom, second circuit, right? And you see a lot of people still operate, or we, as social animals, we drop into these circuits, right? We're triggered by things, and we picked up, and imprints is what the book calls them in our childhood. The third circuit is our logical semantic circuit. So this is, and each circuit is broken into 3 parts. But one, we learn things by mimicking. You think of a kid and they mimic, and then that one thing, they just say it back to you and they annoy you and blah, 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 and the whole world of mimicking, nye, 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 nye. And it's like, yeah. So mimicking is how we learn. And then 2, from mimicking, we think about positions, right? Titles, like, I am this, I am that. And you watch kids play, and it's like they're playing house. You're the mommy, I'm the daddy, I'm this, you're my baby, this. It's like they're learning the positions and the roles and the task that each position holds. So this is the logical semantic. And then the third part of it, the output, is always the coming together. This is about the coming together. So this is about group effort to make things happen. So our whole society is built on this, right? And the example they give in the book of like the picture that I'm seeing, and it's a picture of the book, it's like it's like the Boy Scouts making a tent together, right? It's this collaboration. It's, we understand the tools and this, and now we're dividing the workload, right? Can we divide the task? Can we have cohesion? So this is our third circuit, logic, right? And so men predominantly live on the logical circuit, right? Their whole world, position, status, this, logic, this. And then the fourth circuit is our social sexual circuit. So, puberty and stuff, so you become, a sexual being and all this, and then this all go all the way, and it's even reflected in menopause, blah, blah, blah. So these are 4 lower circuits that we all go through. And then there has to be some sort of imprinting event, usually, to activate your higher circuits. So the 5th circuit is our, I believe it's our somatic circuit, and this is usually activated by marijuana, where you realize, like, my body is a pleasure temple. And then from that consciousness, it's like, I want to feel the best all the time in my body. And so this is why you have your, like, people who take this crazy, and they're like on these crazy diets, regimens, biohacking, all of this stuff. Likely it's connected to some sort of awakening of the body consciousness to, want to feel the best all the time. And then, the merging of this is a sexual experience beyond reproduction, right? And for the man, it's like I call it the infinity boner. Everything feels like you're coming and you're not coming at all. Like and it's possible. And then this is talked about the mastery of this circuit. This is the 5th circuit. And then the 6th circuit is our neural circuit, and this is usually activated by psychedelics. And then we kind of realize and start seeing this meta of the scripts we're playing. And then one thing with this is you tend to see how, like, the lower circuit, the 1st circuit, is tied to the 5th. The 6th is tied to the 2nd. So it's like the evolution, in a way, of these circuits. But anyways, this book explained a lot to me, and pretty much Timothy Leary, in my quest, because he was the leading psychedelic researcher, right? And so in the 60s, so that's why I kind of was studying his work to be like, what happened to me and how I stumbled into all of this. Where was I going with that? Well, he was conducting ceremonies on psychedelics based on scripture from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And the thought process was, from that, is the Tibetan Book of the Dead raises you all the way to an 8th level of consciousness, right? It's a procedure to get you up there. And then when you're actually sobering up, when you're coming down, not when you're getting high, when you're returning back to baseline, he says you have a chance to re-imprint yourself with your imagination. So we have these imprints that control how we react, right? Our hurt inner children, and is kind of how the modern psychology world might put it. These are imprints, right? Because usually there's imprinting situations. If you've ever done inner child work, you go back in history to an event where this inner child gets its feelings hurt, right? Or has some sort of misunderstanding of a situation, and then reflects not enoughness in a way. So this says when you're descending back to your consciousness as a human, when you're coming back to these base 4 layers that we need to operate in, because in a way we can't sustain that, and this is what all the gurus say, that's just medicine, because evolve or walk the path, ideally you'll have access, blah blah blah. So there's a whole other rabbit hole. But anyways, this book, I read it 10 years ago, and it's really defined my whole everything. And I feel like it's honestly a real gift that I got exposed to this knowledge at a young age. One of my favorite quotes from the book is, "The thinker thinks, the prover proves." And they also go into like almost MK Ultra ish rituals that were performed, because the root of this was all, what is mind control? How do we re-imprint someone? And they have in their theories for re-imprinting yourself without psychedelics through trauma, right? And then people say society's trauma-based mind control is a whole term in new agey conspiracy theory worlds, and it's not wrong, right? So anyways, this kind of goes into all that stuff, and it was a big eye-opener for me, and that's my favorite book. And then the evolution of that, which it links all of that research to how it overlays with the tarot cards, is also because tarot cards represent archetypes. That is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Timothy Leary and Robert Anton Wilson, which is like the second version, and I think that one is great as well. They're different, but that one is more like the punch of like, here's the linking a lot of things, right? Here's just how it works and how it's linked. And then the first one is a little bit more storytelling on to try to, and a little bit more, in a way, image provoking on how to get you to understand the circuitry. And I feel like this science has been hidden from psychology in a way, and having this re-released and people understanding and just doing research with re-imprinting theory and the 8th circuit nervous system, I feel like if more people were just read this and understood this, and it was in universities more, it would change the world. I really believe that it would change our understanding of how we currently do medicine. And I mean, this whole world of, I just read 40% of teens are on some sort of prescription. So and I don't know if that's just anxiety and depression, but my mind goes there. And how much of this has to do with just not being able to cope with some hard imprints? And I'm not saying psychedelics are the answer, but would this give the people suffering from these a little bit more clarity maybe on how to describe what they feel is happening, right? It's like, is this a circuit 2 imprint malfunction, or and I won't even say malfunction, but there's a lot of psychoanalysis to be done through this framework that I believe is helpful, right? So anyways, that's that. And this is still one of my desires, and I was pursuing for a little bit this idea of psychedelic therapies, and this was still going to be my guiding book and principle. And I still feel like shamans of the world they know this intuitively. It's just I'm articulating it in a different way, in a different lens that I believe is helpful, because it's more of a complete picture. But at the same time, this is not my work. This is someone else's work that I've just been like, it's given me, I feel like, an edge almost, and I just want more people to understand it. And sharing this, I have received a lot of pushback, because I just believe people are like so consumed with the college level biology and evolution, right? But you ask people, it's like, how does developmental psychology work? How does evolution work, right? And like, they're probably going to start talking about like birds on an island, and I'm like, what in the Darwin? Like, no, bro, like, how do well, like, the baby crawls, the baby walks, and I'm like, what about emotions? What about all that? And it's like, oh, finally a complete theory about that. And it was like, yeah. So crazy long-winded answer about a question about a book, but I felt like I got a chance to flex a little bit on how well I know this topic. And even though I didn't cover the higher frequencies or the higher circuits, because need to do some brushing up on it. But just knowing the lower circuitries will change your life. And then, yep, I'm gonna moving on. Next question. Before I try to unpack my ramble, let's just jump on the next thing. What is the most adventurous thing you've ever done? Whoa, what is the most adventurous thing I ever done? I would say walk up a river with my friend Stefan after we drove our motorbikes to the end of a very sketchy carved mountain, and in Ecuador. Yeah, that was pretty amazing, and we had an amazing time out there. I don't want to say too much about it, but it was beautiful. And what made it so adventurous is the sunset. We're in a river in the dark, just the moonlight, and we had to figure out. We got lost, and we had to figure out how to get out of there. And wow, was that a super powerful experience. So that's the most adventurous thing I've ever done. Get lost in jungly territory at night. That's like, phew, that's intense stuff. That's like, wow, that will test you. Mm, yeah, I don't know if that's everyone's flavor of adventure. I think my favorite type of adventure is like exploring cities and nature stuff with people I love. But yeah, sometimes you get into sticky situations and you see who you become, right? And then it's like, what sticks? What adventures stick, you know? I think of another adventure with a friend, and we were up on these, Ecuadorian mountain roads, and his bike stops working, and we somehow like have a rope, and I gotta tow him with my bike, and we're like going up hills and down hills, and it's nuts, right? And it's like you remember these trials and tribulations, right? And I think that's part of of the flavor of what? The flavor of life. That's part of the flavor of adventure. So next question. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you consider your greatest accomplishment in life so far? Wow. What do I consider my greatest accomplishment in life so far? So I used to say my book collection, because I was the kid who couldn't read, and I overcame that, and that was a big deal for me, and blah blah blah. But now, what is my greatest accomplishment in life? Hmm. Thus far, hmm. Yeah. First thing that came to my mind is some cheesy stuff, and then I was like, ah. But it was like kind of, I guess, living a life true to myself. And I also feel like I've always felt this, my greatest accomplishment. Well, I'm thinking back to college, and in a way, I was just an undergrad, but I was kind of like craving this like deeper senior project, this thesis, right? And never happened. And then I always thought I would somehow get around to it, right? Not necessarily a thesis, but something, some sharing of something I was proud of. And then I guess now, where does my mind go with that? The last thing I was like proud of like that, I felt like, is when I built a van. And when I built this van, my intention from the beginning was to make it a show-worthy van. And the fact that like I thought out every single little detail, was, yeah, that was cool. That was, I feel like, one of the last things I was truly proud of. And is an accomplishment something you can point at, right? That's yeah. So, and since then, I've been kind of just studying, like lost in a way, and just reading. And yeah, I got into crypto and had some fun there and learned some stuff there, and lost a bunch of money there. But they say that's how you pay your tuition in the game, right? And yeah, what did I learn from all of that? Because I can't be like, hey, here's my million that I made in crypto, and that took hard work, and I'm proud of that. Like, I can't say that right now. Uh, so yeah, the last thing I can point at is that van, and I guess that's also the driver of doing all of this. I feel like, man, I mean, this is day 3, and seeing the challenge of this task, and also with the level of authenticity I feel like I'm giving each question, just allowing myself to be and ramble. And I also feel like this is going to be leverage, and that, after the first 100 questions, it might just be like boom, 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 because I might be over it. But who knows, right? Who knows? But I see how finishing this could feel like a great accomplishment. So, yeah, another thing that I guess I did after the whole van experience is I did a tarot card live reading for 1 month. I was in a similar sort of feeling place, but different. And to break free, I did a 30-day challenge, and then every 30 days, I did something different. Where I think I made, before Reels, I was making IGTV. So I made 30 IGTV videos talking about what the heck ever. And then after that, I went in all these spiritual Facebook groups and I was doing tarot card readings from there. And then I was like, if anyone wants to do a paid reading, reach out, blah, blah, blah. And I was just maximum value giving all of it and played in that realm. And I actually did do some paid readings and made some money on, is that my greatest accomplishment? That's like, if things I can point to, it's like, I could point to that. And that's like, I don't want that to be my greatest accomplishment. And I remember doing it, and I was like, part of it was this identity thing and this how I'm going to be perceived. It's like, I don't want to just be a tarot card reader. Like, geez, but it was fun. So, and yeah, I got kind of scared away by the identity part of it, or just, fear of being perceived. But I was on this 30-day challenge thing, and I do remember it's just like the consistency felt good, the moments felt good, and then I lost it at some point. And then just now do I feel like I've actually designed something for me to get back on it. What is my greatest accomplishment? The other thing I think is my greatest accomplishment is all my journals. Because that's all my studying, right? That's really all my 10,000 hours is summarized in those journals. And I've been back and forth of like, do I take these journals around the world with me? I'm here 1 more week, so do I try to read as much of them as I can? Or do I trust that most of the work in there is in here because I saturated myself in it? So, greatest accomplishments. The answer didn't come easy, but I guess I'm going to finish it with my journal collection. Because that's my, I guess that's where that's proof that I'm the greatest philosopher on the planet. That's what that is. And or that's proof that there's a master's, there's a PhD in philosophical theory crammed in those journals. It's not necessarily a streamlined, coherent sort of shebang, but I guarantee you there's a bunch of very beautiful mental frameworks to be shared and stacked, and they live in my journals, and that is my greatest accomplishment thus far. Alrighty. What positive habits have improved your life? What positive habits have improved my life? Right now, well, what positive habits? Well, I guess where I'm at right now is I'm feeling like I'm in no position to talk about habits. I'm like 5 days into like trying to build habits. But I do know anytime my life has crumbled, I start journaling and my life feels better. So I would say that. And there's a lot of things I'm trying, and I think habits, this is my whole thing on stat maxing. If you build habits around the 5 core stats, which is time management, health, mental production, creative influence, and concentration, those are going to improve your life. That's my big overarching theory or thesis, and I'm proving it to myself right now. What energizes you and makes you excited to start your day? Whoa. What energizes me and makes me excited to start my day? I feel like the fact that I'm taking this long to answer is a problem. Is a problem? I don't know if it's necessarily a problem, but the first thing I remember, I'm just gonna tell this story. It's like, I remember when I was playing video games, MapleStory was the game. I was in like middle school. I was so energized by that game. I was a tweak about it. I was addicted. Like, I'll go to bed at 2 in the morning, wake up at 7 in the morning just to play this game. And then I remember afterlife, it's like, man, I'm like this snoozer, sleeper inner type of dude. And I'm like, man, I don't, like, what is it going to take in my life to get me to that, right? And I've always thought what would do it is if I could wake up and there's something to check. There's some sort of feedback loop where I can wake up and check if I made money. I think if I could wake up and I had something I could check to see how much money I made when I was sleeping, I would be energized to start the day. What energizes you and makes you excited to start my day? I don't know. I kind of am like, not. When I'm with people, that's one thing, but I feel like alone, I'm kind of like the lazy morning chill bro. Like, I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll snooze a little bit, you know, some point I'll get a coffee. Let's just read some emails and Twitter and noties from the night before. I don't really have a morning practice or anything where I'm like, I'm excited to do this and crush this. And even like thinking about my task, it's like, we'll get there. We'll get there. And I'm addressing it. The simple way to address it is, I think, building exactly what I just said. What would get me excited? And I don't know, well, maybe just this is part of it. What would get me excited is waking up and having something I could check to see if I made money. Making money overnight and being able to check that sounds freaking awesome. And I do know when you're deep in the crypto stuff, you wake up, you check your bags right away. So that excites me. Money excites me, and being able to wake up and like have that feedback loop. So now it's like, how can I get excited that I'm building that? It's like, I'm building that. I want to wake up. What energizes me? The fact, can I be energized just by the fact that I knowing I'm working towards building a machine that's going to pay me while I sleep? Well, that's because if you think about the game, before we were even like hacking MapleStory and doing all these things, it's like, because then we were waking up to see like what we bought it overnight. So also part of that's that. Maybe I could wake up and check my bots. So what bots do I have? And there's something in all of that for me right there. But yeah, I don't. My mornings are, I've always been a chill bro. What else would excite me in the morning? Sex, food, just simple. Just kind of like, I'm like a bear vibes in the morning. Takes me a bit to get started. But I do believe there's something in like how you start your day sets the tone for the day. So mornings, and I guess this is part of this, looking at this thing, and I'm like, all of this stuff on here, and my original plan with it was to be designed to be done pretty much in a power hour. The fact that I would sit, do my burpees, journal, get ready for my video, set my some high priority things to get done for the night or the day. That was the goal, and then it was spend 2 hours making a video, and then, you know, editing or doing whatever I had to do. So hopefully as time goes, I get more energized and excited by doing this, and I feel like it is already energizing me because I'm showing up. I'm still showing up. Well, thus far, even though it's 12:30 the next day, I'm here answering my questions. What do you define? How do you define spirituality? What role does it play in your life? How do you define spirituality? What role does it play in your life? Spirituality, how do I define it? Spirituality is always here. What is the relationship between spirituality and consciousness? I feel like it's just words attempting to describe an ever pervading awareness and feel the feeling. What role does it play in your life? It's everything, because we can't escape it. We're being hunted by consciousness. I think there's dreams that are hunting and trying and using me as a vessel to come through me, and I think that lens is a spiritual lens, and I'm doing my best to give myself to that And why I say give myself is because I have to give all of these insecurities to this thing. There's things, showing up here, the discipline. So spirituality, how do I define it? It's beyond our words. But what role does it play? It's everything. And the only way I could be to describe the role it plays in my life is this idea of synchrodestiny. This felt sensation of being at the right place at the right time for the right reason, and you're struck with the deepest level of conviction that everything is okay, that you are loved and enough. It may not last forever, but boom, you're hit with it, and you're like, you have this little smirk on your face. Maybe this feeling of deja vu leaves you with this fragrance. We can't force it. We can only be grateful when it appears. Yeah. But there is this, like I said, there's this energetic field always there. And I also believe that we can play with it, we can interact with it, and other humans are creators and manipulators of this field, and when we come together, cool things can happen. So that's spirituality. What are your top 5 values? Why are they important? Oh, jeepers. What are your top 5 values and why are they important? So, John Taylor DeLagato, in his 14 things for elite level education, one of them is students, by the end of this experience at elite level education, they have arrived at a personal code of conduct. This is something I haven't done yet, and even now answering this question, it's like I'm falling back on my training, and I want to answer as I was taught in my fraternity in a way, right? So, but are those my values? And I've thought a lot about this. Are my fraternity values my values? Do I resonate with them? Do I live by them? Do they move me? And they do. And I guess I'm still questioning that question. I haven't been like, these are my values. There's nowhere else to look. There's nothing else to find. Now it is just my duty to reflect these. So what are my values then, if that's how I feel? Well, then one of my top values is, I'm going to write this down, curiosity. I'm in love with curiosity. A curious mind is a sexy mind. What is my value? Curiosity. I also value imagination. Imagination. Curiosity, imagination, trust. Trust. There is no relationship without trust. Curiosity, imagination, trust. I want to put play is on my mind, but is play imagination? Curiosity, laughter. I value laughter. I do know that. I'll put that instead of play. Laughter. I value laughter, curiosity, trust. The last word that came to mind is simplicity. Do I value that? I'm working towards it. If simplicity is addressing discomfort, I'm sure as hell working on it right now. So those are my answers. That's what I came up with on that one. What qualities do you appreciate and admire in others? What qualities do you appreciate and admire in others? Well, I guess that's kind of how I answered these. One, I appreciate curiosity in others. I appreciate imagination in others. I appreciate, I guess, transparency in others. I appreciate listening, and I admire listening, people who can listen. There's just a certain people that have a way, they just got a fragrance of dopeness, but it has to do with listening and providing feedback in a way. What is this feedback thing I want to get to? There is this gentle way to hold a space, to dance in a space. And what qualities do you appreciate and admire most in others? I guess freedom. When you see someone else that's free, I appreciate that. Someone else who's imaginative, I appreciate that. I admire that. People who make stuff happen, I admire that. I guess I gotta, yeah. Mental production, I admire that. People who can, I also admire people who like do things 100%. People who go like all out. People who take themselves seriously and have this level of professionalism. Like if I'm gonna do it, if I'm gonna put my name on that, if I'm studying this, then I'm gonna go all out. I'm gonna dedicate myself to this. I'm gonna give myself to this. That's what I appreciate. People who are giving. People who give themselves to the task or the craft at hand. And if I admire that in others, then that is something I want to continue to strengthen in myself. My ability to give myself fully to task at hand. And I feel like I'm good at doing that in social situations, but I also want to be able to be good at that just for myself. All right. So, when do you feel most alive? Well, when do I feel most alive? When do I feel most alive? Well, okay, my experiences of feeling alive today. And it was interesting. But I was going to book a plane ticket for Tuesday, and then like my heart was beating so fast and all this and feeling alive. And I honestly was like, no, this is not the day to go then. I felt that aliveness, that wow, that fear, and I was like, that's not the day to go then. I'm glad I got to feel that and experience that, but the way I took that in the moment of something is off here. I wanted it to feel more calm and natural than this like, oh my, then this exhilaration, adrenaline, I don't know, like adventure loading up, like becoming hyper aware of like, if I press this, like I'd be like throwing shit in boxes and doing all kinds of cleaning and stuff right now. I don't know if I would have sat down and made this video. And so all of that, like kind of looking in the future, the nervousness, it's like it's all gonna happen so quick, you know. So I didn't actually decide on that date. I was like, let's do it when I want to be in a more of a state of peace, of calmness. And I'm not who's not to say approaching the day I might feel nervous, but it's just 1 week out now. Instead of this Tuesday, it's next Tuesday pretty much. But that made me feel really alive, being like, wow, am I doing this? Is it about to happen? Wow, oh my gosh. And then I also feel alive after you work out, after you like finish a rep. Like on the week I've been doing every day 2 sets of 25 burpees. And honestly, I could do it in probably like 4 minutes, if not less. And it's just like starting is the hardest part, but afterwards when your heart is pumping, and I guess, yeah, the sports, you just like, oh, I'm feeling alive. And when you're just cranked out of your nog on too many cups of coffee, feeling alive. But I guess something in what I said about feeling alive and my decision making is this feeling of alive. I also think it also encompasses this feeling of peace. Like, yeah, when I was about to buy the ticket, it was like, oh wow, this acceleration, this adrenaline. And I'm like, but no, I don't want that. I want this peace, this tranquility. So what makes me feel that as well? That zen, that alive in that. So when do I feel most alive, you know? But I also feel like when you're on, when you're freaking on. And this is like, I know there's a feeling of feeling alive, because this is when every time I felt this way, it's like this is when the women have showed up in my life as well. When it's like I'm not even thinking about women anymore. It's like I'm just absorbed in my life and I'm having fun in the rhythm I'm in. And I'm like, yeah, now it's like you gotta put your big boy pants on, you have to build your own rhythm. If you're like, screw a job and working for someone else and some like company rhythm thing, and I want to build my own rhythm, then it's like, do it then. And that's where I'm at. We're doing it. We're building rhythm, and I'm doing it on my terms. How do I want to build rhythm? By answering 1,000 questions to get comfortable speaking in front of a camera and to have my own AI, you know, that's packed with authenticity. And that's the drive. That's the drive. When do I feel most alive? Well, I think peace is part of that. And I don't know when I feel the most peace. Because it's attainable in every moment. At the same time, sometimes torment is attainable in every moment. Self-torment, jeepers. All right, what are you grateful for today? What am I grateful for today? Well, honestly, I'm grateful that I got to see my Pati today. My step grandma, my Pati. We went to a beautiful steakhouse in Blaine. I'd never been in like the downtown version of there. I had an amazing salmon, smiles, laughter. There's some carrot cake downstairs. I might go sneak some bites of when I finish this, but I'm grateful that I got to see her. And then I remember coming upstairs, looking at my room, and knowing I'm about to go to the Philippines, and just pausing for a moment because I watch some things on YouTube, and it's like there's some people who are living with tin roofs and no AC, and I look around and I'm like, man, it's cold outside, but I'm in a nice warm house, and I've accumulated some very cool material toys like cameras and lights and stuff, and I was just like, man, this is a privilege in a way. I was, yeah, just being like, I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that I have this. And it was kind of like, yeah, you've been silly that you've been kind of stressed out, and yeah, it's interesting because I feel like at the core of what I'm asking is what does it mean to thrive? What does it mean to thrive? And my life is a reflection. I want my life to be a reflection of that, of what does it mean to thrive. And yeah, can I give myself to that? Give myself to the process of what does it mean to thrive? And how is this all tied in? Because this is all tied in because I know there's a lot of people who don't have the opportunity that I have to even ask that question. It's not possible. There's only one thing, and that's like I need to make money today in my proximity because I don't have a car, I don't have transportation, or I can only, or what, there's a lot that's real. And then in that proximity, there's not that many opportunities necessarily, and there's, wages and various things, and to come up, it's not the easiest to come up. So I know they're in a state of survival. Their backs against the wall daily, and I just felt grateful that I've had this aristocratic life in a way to study, reflect, explore spirituality at a young age, and even what does that even mean to me, and to really give that solid time to form some sort of answer to a lot of these questions, and then now to choose to spend my time dedicating myself to answering these questions. That's a privilege right there. And I'm grateful that I have this privilege. And I have to also remind myself, if I really truly am grateful to have this privilege, I get to answer these questions. And I'm connected to people who don't get to answer these questions. I'm grateful I have that opportunity. And if I'm really truly grateful, then I will show it with action. And that's kind of one thing I think I read this year that really moved me. It's like, if people are grateful for you, they're going to do what you say. They're going to follow through on the things that you tell them. They're going to actually take action on your advice. Yeah, I think there's something to that. But also, like, take that with a grain of salt, because there's also this whole thing of no one can steal your lesson. And now this is an interesting paradigm with a student-teacher relationship, is like, how can no one steal your lesson, yet we still have this container for education? And now I think this is the differentiation point of good to great in a way. And I also think this is why people are like, you got to find a good mentor, right? And when we say that, like, there's some sort of, tier system or whatever, but I do think there's something to that. And also that you're getting pointed in the right direction. And yeah, and that's kind of what I want to help other people do. I'm like, hey, I find this stuff useful, and it might help you out as well. But also at the same time, it's like I don't really have anything to show for it, nor am I actually applying it. So here's my journey of me applying it, and let's see if this actually holds up. Let's see if it's generating results. And then, based, what are results, right? Well, ideally, you're you're seeing made manifest the things you want to see made manifest, and that brings you joy that you're a creator in this world. So grateful for my life, honestly, and the people that support me and my family. Super grateful for that. That's what I'm grateful for today. All right, let's see, that's 40. So I'm at my thing, but let's answer these next 5 and push on through. uh, we'll do that. Let's answer these next 5 because that's the section. Then I'll kind of feel like I'm a little bit ahead on my questions. How do you handle anger? What have you learned about its role in your life? Wow, how do I handle anger? Well, I don't know how I handle anger. Honestly, I'm like a very fiery person, and I can just go off. I could just go off and get mad. And well, I do understand this because this is the thing. Like, my dad's a mechanic, and when you work on cars, you can get mad at cars. And it's like you get mad at things not going your way, rust, all kinds of things. Trying to unscrew someone else's mess up, all kinds of things you can get angry at. Um, it's really interesting, that type of anger, because what I noticed when when you get angry at trying to fix a car, you can no longer think clearly. You lose your mindset to be solution oriented, and you got to have that solution oriented mindset. Like, you get angry, and then you can't think straight on how to actually solve the problem. You lose creative ability. It's like, okay, what I'm doing is not working. What can I do to make it work? What can I do to solve this problem? And if you get angry, you now can't see. You're just like, "Arr!" And you just go to force, and now you can break things. So I do think that also is in relationships. When you get angry at other people, you can't see other solutions, nor, yeah. And what have I learned about anger's role in my life? Well, the thing that comes to my mind is I don't necessarily think anger is a bad thing. I think anger is a normal response, and how I've understood it, to our boundaries being overstepped. So if someone oversteps our boundaries, I think it's normal that we get angry and we set those boundaries. And it's not wrong that we do that, and that we stand up for ourselves, and that we get angry by that, and we stand up for ourselves. That's important. But I also do think there's another type of anger, of where someone's calling you out on your shit, and you're in some sort of denial anger thing. You don't want to see your fault in it. You're just like, how dare you insult me? And that's an interesting one, because yeah, that's, yeah, anger out of denial. I want to do away with that one. At the same time, it's like there is, you can't just let yourself be publicly put down, right? So, but you gotta, and so I do think it's twofold. And there's ways that you could be suave about it too, right? But I do think just getting angry is never, if someone, yeah, like if someone is publicly putting you down and you start reacting all crazy, it's like that person seems right. If you're just kind of like, what? What is this? Who's this chump? What is he saying? You know nothing. Well, not necessarily that, because that's still defensive, but anger. Yeah, you blow your cool. It's just not suave. It's not James Bondish, right? And I think the worst, I think there is like someone's hurt that you love, and you get freaking revengeful and angry, and it's in the situation or something. It's like super extreme, right? Like, I think, like, there's a burglar breaks in, is like freaking, you know, gonna cut open my girlfriend. It's like, if I want to get pissed off in that moment, it's like, it's fine to get pissed off in that moment. That's not a bad thing. It's like, that sounds like a natural response. It's like, no. So that seems chill, getting angry like that. And I do think it's like you're getting called out for, like, you know, not following through on your responsibilities, and then you have this like weird victim anger of, yeah. And then that's interesting because it's like, you know, yeah, but it's being reflected to you. So yeah, how did that anger, that's kind of, what has his role been in my life? Well, I would like its role to be to, that there's a healthy form of anger, and that's around my boundaries. I would like its role to be that. And I also am seeing in myself, sometimes I get angry when there's some sort of self-denial thing there, and then that's not cool. So yeah, getting angered from being misunderstood or lack of communication, I think everyone deals with that. And well, just stay cool, focus on being a better communicator, take ownership where you can. No, yeah. So some of my thoughts on anger. What would you constitute a perfect day for you? What would you constitute a perfect day for you? Well, this has actually been, I think, a guiding question in my life right now. And this whole thing of life by design, or you know, applied philosophy, or yeah, life by design. And I mean, right now, perfect day for me seems like wake up, have some chill stretch, a little bit of exercise time, you know, sit in the sun a little bit, have some water, have some coffee or a good smoothie or both. And then, yeah, I was thinking, like, you know, maybe you make a video, and then when the video's done, I just upload it, I send it off, and then I go play some hoops or basketball or something during the day, and then I go have a lunch, and it's just nice. I go on a date, and it's just groovy and fun. Maybe I have a meeting, or I'm talking with someone or some cool people, and collaboration projects and things, and making things happen, and calling people to arrange deals and some negotiation. That sounds sexy. So maybe that's like after basketball, or that's, you know, after maybe some sort of gym instead of basketball. I go to the gym just for a little bit, or like walk the beach, and then afterwards I do some negotiating, meetings with cool people, encouraging them, clients, helping them out, whatever that looks like. Then after that, I go play some hoops, get a ball, and then go on like some dinner date, have that dinner date vibe, go home, you know, laugh, either go hang out with friends with my boo thing, or just go see the boys and it's just a boy thing and we're just laughing, having a good time. You know, maybe we're out doing something like throwing darts, bowling, you know, go-karting, just being kids, laughing, and then come home, make love, just have some dessert, maybe have a little, you know, nighttime smoke, go to bed. That sounds like the perfect day, my dude. Ooh. And then also, like, sometime in there, like coming home with my boo thing after night out, like putting on the TV, putting on the YouTube, seeing what my team did with my rant, or my verbal processing from the morning. Because I'm just in the morning like this, like Nate, you know, in my bathrobe, feeling like Hugh Hef, just rambling philosophy and thoughts into a camera, and then I hand it off, and AI and a team process it, and then it all gets put out. And then sometimes when I'm pooping in the day, I see my own videos that my team made me. I'm like, I said that shit, bro. I said that. Damn, that's some good stuff. Damn, I needed to hear that. Go Case. Like, that'd be the perfect day. So, what it is. How do you cope with failure or disappointment? Oh, geez. How do you cope with failure or disappointment? Well, I don't cope with it good. I get angry. I'm a baby about it. Failure or disappointment. I get angry. I'm a baby about it. I want to like blame things. I want to be scared. I want to crawl under my pillow. And sometimes, other times I'm just like, I figure it out. I'm like, all right, that didn't work. Okay, what can we do to make it work? What is there any other tool? Is there any other solution? What? Because I realize, yeah, some big failures are like, and I don't even know if it's necessarily failures, because I'm thinking like you could change the scenario, and there's other things that had failed, right? Like I'm saying, you get mad at the car, and the thing you tried in that moment failed. It didn't work. You're disappointed it didn't work. And in a way, you gotta try another solution. You gotta try again. You gotta think about something differently. You gotta, breathe, spend more time. So in those and I also think of like with friends, like my friend, his bike, that his bike failed. That's a failure, right? He's disappointed. How do we deal with that? Well, we just gotta find solutions. What do we have around? All right, some rope, do this. And then, oh, the rope broke. The rope this is on the bike. It's just like moment by moment. It's just we gotta stay calm, kind of smile and laugh. Hey, we got water, we got things we need, we got each other. Like there's no one's coming to help us, so we gotta solve it. And let's just do it. And if we need to take a break, we need to take a break. But I also realized like, and with that, and when you fail or whatever, I also realize in myself, sometimes I get like decision paralysis, right? I want to think about the problem instead of being like, okay, what's the problem? What's the solution? Have I tried it? And yeah, so I'm still learning how to deal with failure and disappointment. And I know it's like you gotta fail forward. It's the only way you learn this, that. Yeah, sometimes I feel very exhausted when you can't figure things out, or you fail, or you do this. Because even like setting up this desk here, where now it's easy and I can turn things on and press record, and that was the mental production, that was the vision at one point. And I wanted more advanced capabilities and know with a few, 5 minutes of setup, I could be there. It took a while. I failed to get there, right? Like I tried other things and it wasn't working. And then you have to spend more money in this. And in a way, it's like, okay, it didn't work. And I think of that whole quote of, what's his name? Edison. He's like, I didn't fail. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work. So, and then, yeah, when I went to the University of Washington, the slogan that they were making, the thing was fail forward. So I think about that, and the whole startup world is like, try things fast, and I understand, and fail. And I understand this whole like get the feedback loop completed. So I know these things mentally, but to be honest, they're not in my body. Like I'm a baby at failure. Like I'm terrified of it at times. So that's how do I solve that? It's like, just chill. All right, do I need to look? Am I like still too charged about this and not calm where I can look at it from a different angle? Or have I looked at it from every different angle and now I'm not taking action? That's like the discernment of like when I'm dealing with my failure. How do I find that? What, question 44, what keeps you humble and grounded? Have I answered these? I'm checking real quick. Because I feel like I answered something about this. No, I don't think I did. Why? Did I talk about this with someone? I remember question 20 was similar. Wait, was it? I don't even know. No, 21. Alright, nope, right here, 14. What keeps you humble and grounded? I've already answered this question. How do you cope with failure and disappointment? I've already answered that question as well. So, I'm getting like, all right, what I need to do now, because I'm just on the website reading these. Honestly, I need to copy all of these questions to a doc or something, and I need to, or like I think in like the Excel function, and you can find duplicates and you can delete duplicates. I want to delete duplicates. I don't know if this is intentional. I don't know what. This is the free version, whatever. Brian does have like some group you could be a part of. I'm not a part of it, but here we are. And I answered that question right here. Boom. How do you cope with failure? What keeps you humble? That was question 13, 14. I don't know if I answered this one too. Is that 11? What mistakes or failures were the best lessons for you in life? Uh, yeah, so though that one isn't there. What mistakes or failures were the best lessons for you in life? This is the last question of the night. This is so that's interesting. All right. So mental production. I also just gonna speak this aloud. Like, all right, you had the idea of like, kind of annoyed. I had it. I'm like, did I answer this? Why am I answering it twice? Blah blah blah. Maybe it's by design. Maybe as you go on, your answers change to these questions, and it's good to answer them twice. At the same time, it's like, how many duplicates are there? Why are there duplicates? Blah 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 blah. But anyways, let's answer the question. What mistakes or failures were the best lessons for you in your life? Mistakes or failures were the best lessons for you in your life. What mistakes or failures were the best questions for you in your life? What is on my mind? What is on my mind? Well. What mistakes or failures were the best lessons for you in your life? Well, I honestly think both my long-term relationships have been huge lessons and learning experiences for me in my life. I don't necessarily know if they were mistakes or failures, but we're not together anymore. And yeah, I don't know if that's a bad thing. I wouldn't say it is, and this mistakes or failures, but those were amazing lessons, and each of them had their own lessons. And I think through those relationships, I became a better version of myself. And um, yeah, I think we learn the most and we can grow the most through relationships with other people. And I definitely have found a lot of learnings in my time with those two partners and who I was and blah blah blah. Um, what mistakes or failures were the best? I'm trying to think. Where else did I fail, mess up? Um, hmm. Yeah. What else is on my mind? Well, I also think, and I think all these things are kind of related. And yeah, I think the other thing that comes to my mind is in my fraternity, I ran for president once, and then I pretty much was like, we're, let me try to be president, and we did like a switcheroo thing. But the first time I ran, I didn't get it, and I lost to another guy in my fraternity or in my class. And the reason why I think he got it over me, it's the perceived energy. I think everyone knew that I may have not actually practiced what you preach. Would I actually enforce the rules, or was I too concerned with everyone liking me? And would you rather have your leader be someone who's not scared to enforce rules, or someone who's too scared of or wants everyone to like them? And I really believe that's why I lost. And I think there is this whole masculinity complex and everything I just said. Was he quote unquote more alpha than me? Maybe, yeah, you could go there. Do I think I was still the better leader for the job? Yeah, of course I do. So, but also, why was that a big lesson? Well, I think during this process, my college process and my fraternity process or whatever, I think I really came to terms with I'm a people pleaser, and I don't feel like I'm completely over this yet. But I do really feel like it's catalyzed me onto a journey to be like, can I just be me? Can I be liked and loved for being me? Um, and yeah, and part of that I think is you got to take off the mask, and I think you also gotta, yeah, I wonder, I guess, deliver the hard truths. Can you be comfortable being a straight shooter and just being like, this is what the fuck I think? And I think at times, like, I've always been that, and sometimes I guess you only kind of remember the times you might compromise yourself out of that. And I guess why I say that is I remember I met this, well, I saw a friend, and we were like friends in middle school, and I saw her at a party years after. It was like another friend's birthday party or like some barbecue thing. And she told me, Casey, you remember what you said to me in 8th grade? I'm like, no, what'd I say? And she was like, you told me my arms were hairy and gross, and since that day, I've always shaved my arms. I don't even remember saying this, but that's me being a straight shooter in a way. And so it's like, clearly I've been a straight shooter most of my, at a lot of my life, but it's like, I don't always remember it. I guess I remember the times where it's like, you hold back from saying the truth. And how does this tie into masculinity? Well, I think I lost that run for president because there was that underlining thing of like, he's not gonna, he wants people to like him, and he's willing to, that's not what we want in a leader. Where was I going with that? How was those two things I was just talking about connected? And I forget what I said. Masculinity, and well, and also I think in my relationships, right? Like the failure of my relationships has been a learning lesson, and I think the big lesson in there is I can't make the girl my everything. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, one, and I guess both my relationships I've held on to this, like, I'm gonna get the queen and then we're gonna build the kingdom together. But I think I just gotta build the kingdom, and that's gonna be a successful relationship. And it's been fun in a way, living with my parents and seeing them interact, or my stepdad and my mom. And my stepdad, in a very subtle way, is always setting the tone. And he's always planning the trips and doing that. He's just doing what he thinks is fun and is inviting my mom along for it. And, that's really what's kind of happening, but he does it in a very, like, loving way. Hey, do you want to do this? Does this sound fun? Should we go here? But he's like, he's going to make it happen regardless. But he's living him, and he's inviting her. And it's actually way more subtle. Like, even me saying that, it's like, it sounds, misogynistic or whatever. But no, he's just like, being like, this is fun. I'm going to go do this. Do you want to come? Right? Like, I like poker, and Vegas is a fun place for date nights. You want to go to Vegas next month? It's like, that's it. He's going there to play poker, and then he's like, I like to go to these nice places to have dinner. Do you like that too? And that's versus me and my relationship. It's like, it looks like I'm, big adventure, whatever, me, want to do me. But I also feel like I've been this, like, happy wife, happy life. Like, what are your problems? What are your needs? Let's solve them. What do you want to do this weekend? Let's do this. It's like, I don't ever have anything planned. I'm never like, I want to do this. I'm craving this. And it's not like that energy of like, whatever it takes to have the experience. Like, well, I got to go make money, so on the weekends I can go have fun. And it's like, I love you, so you're going to come with me to have fun. It's more been, I've been like, so I think obsessed with my dream, but putting all this pressure on my dream instead of like deploying myself, it's been like looking outside of me, right? Of like, you, this girl, you, my lover, we're gonna build this thing together, right? And then I over pressurize the relationship and all kinds of stuff. But I also feel at the exact same moment that those girls came into my life and showed me that, and showed me this, hey, this, nice, it's not, what is it? It's just this, like, yeah, it's over attention on the woman and as a surrogate to, like, me not actually challenging myself and reaching for my dreams. And then it's always like, help me reach for my dreams, right? And then I don't feel like that's actually sexy from their part. And then what do I actually want when the rubber meets the road on that, right? Like, do I just want, like, her to be my secretary and, like, her to tell me what to do? Like, okay, we made a plan together, and now she's like, okay, now you need to go call these people, right? And go get the hunt. And like, oh yeah, tell me what to hunt, babe. And it's like, nah, it doesn't. I don't think it works. I don't know if it works. It's not working for me. I gotta just go do it. It's gotta be. I just gotta put this whole thing 100% on me, and then trust that because I'm championing this vision and this mission, that will naturally attract someone who's mesmerized by me and mesmerized by my vision and feels like she resonates with my vision. I feel like that's the way. The kingdom's got to get built regardless. Whether the queen's there now or the queen's gonna be there, in a way that's always got to be irrelevant. It's like the kingdom must thrive. End of story. I'm a man, I'm a generator. I choose to live in a thriving kingdom. This is what a thriving kingdom looks like. This is the standard. This is cool. This is sexy. This is happening. And it's got to be myself and my kingdom focused first. And yeah, because I love her, she's going to get invited along, and I'm going to, do nice things for her. So that's the lesson I'm learning. And I've had some interesting ideas of like, are all men wired to serve a queen? And there's this interesting book, what is it called? I'm forgetting it. The Queen's Code or something? No, it's not the Queen. Keys to the Kingdom. Keys to the Kingdom. I mean, that's an interesting book about, how women can control men and men's development. So, I mean, I've read that and I know the tactics, and I think girls can do these unconsciously. And even knowing that, it's like, do I still fall prey for it? But I think underneath it wasn't necessarily that of like, oh, I'm falling prey to her unconscious prayers and my, animalistic desires to follow a queen and have, female validation, blah, blah, blah. It's like, huh? What? I think that's all like me philosophizing my fear of chasing my dream and over pressurizing relationships to be like, you have to help me actualize this dream. And it's so big and ambitious and wild and unclear. And yeah, but you have to help me do it. And I don't even know where to start. And I'm not even doing anything for it. But you have to help me do this because we got to be that power couple. And it's like, huh? What? What's underneath that is, I think, me just trying to be like cool boy. And the reality is, it's like I have this dream and I'm scared. And I don't really fully know how to even begin. But I'm like obsessive about it in my head. And I don't always match what's in my head and my crazy ideas with any action. And that's just where I'm at right now. I mean, this is what it is. That's me being radically honest. And the cool thing is I have the ability to change. So, and this is the realization that is leading to that change, is like the kingdom must thrive with or without the queen. That's is what it is. And that must be the frame. That's got to be the first. That's what came first, is the kingdom. Women, no women, I am nurturing my kingdom. And if you think my kingdom's cool and we have intersect and you think it's fun, we find similar comedians in, funny, and I'm willing to invest to go see them for the both of us. Like, cool. Is that cool? You want to do that? Does that sound fun? Do you think my friends are cool? You think this lifestyle's cool? Okay. You can take, you find joy in it. All right. So my biggest lessons and what have I learned from it, my failures, well, I think also my failure now with crypto and all the money I lost, it was really a lesson. And that lesson, I guess the biggest lesson, and it's emerging in me now, it's like the thing I'm talking about with girls, the thing I'm talking about with crypto, what I'm going to talk about with crypto is I have to invest in myself. I have to be the best bet, and I have to put my money and my actions on that, on these ideas that come into my head. I have to put my money and my actions, blood, sweat, tears, and the dollar bill tissue paper, that has to get put on the line and invest in myself. I'm not going to get rich doing it off some other crypto project, blah, blah, blah. It's not step one. I mean, maybe when you have a bunch of money and now you want to deploy it because you just don't want it sitting in your bank account. But when you have no money sitting in your bank account, it's a different story. You're probably playing a different game. And you can't just be throwing fucking Hail Marys on crypto coins. I mean, you can. And yeah, I did it, but, betting on myself. And, there's all these arguments, well, when you enter the markets, you are betting on yourself and blah, blah, blah. But there's more to it on that. I'm talking about, and I think you understand what I'm saying. But betting on myself, and I think it's the same thing with women. I want you to come in and I want to bet on you, and I'll help you. And I'm only going to bet on you if you want the same dream as me. Like, that's pretty much how I'm setting it up. And it's like with underneath all that energy, it's like I'm scared. We're gonna build the, you need me because you're scared, right? It's like, what? That's not. That's that radical self-honesty right there. And I think this is that leading to that transformation. The lesson is still emerging in me. It's I'm betting on myself, and betting on myself looks like managing my time, and committing to what I said I was going to do in a way, because that's hand in hand with managing your time and mental production. And I'm in that process right now. That's it. I'm in the lesson. This is the lesson that's emerged, is the science of philosophy, right? I got to take that leap and study and apply and give myself to this process of becoming a scientist of philosophy and running my theories through experiments on myself, being my own lab rat in a way. So that's how I'm going to answer this question. And let's call this a wrap. Peace.